Hi, it's Gabriella here from True Marketing, and I wanted to kind of bring out this presentation again. I did it when we were in the middle of the craziness and all of the strange things that were happening. But now I find we're sort of facing, a whole new slew of really good challenges. A lot of us are experiencing, feelings of being too busy or unsure, or a lot of people shopping around and unsure how to best qualify your clients. You want to do new things like plan groups, plan retreats. You want to hear your clients differently, and sort of, weed things out so that you can get to the serious business. So there's lots of different emotions also that are playing out right now. So what I wanted to do is just kind of bring you, I think, some of the tips that I have developed, over time, and especially over these last couple of months and years, that I think are helping agents. And just based on, the feedback that I hear from so many of you, putting it all together and saying, okay, what are the common threads here? What are the common challenges? And how can I maybe help contribute some helpful information as to what you could be doing differently, maybe to be more efficient. So I'll call it how not to market travel and how to market travel right now, since we are in a completely new realm once again. And kudos to all of you for putting up with the world and all of this stuff, because you're still here, you're active, you're moving forward. And we knew this day would come, but so many of us are having very different realities than we expected coming through this that we had in the beginning. So, the best that we can do is to be completely, empathetic and sympathetic and understanding as we come out of this and as we go forward, because people are viewing travel differently. They're viewing their health differently, safety precautions differently, and all of that. So just don't be tone deaf. And it's very simple. You see on the right side, okay, 3-hour tours on a boat. If you are of my generation and you watched Gilligan's Island, that's a really terrible idea. So watch the way that you word things, watch the way you say things. Certain words mean something different moving forward. A virus means something different. Fever means something different now, and that kind of thing. So watch the way that you word things. Just have some empathy, because some people do have leftover fears and concerns about travel. So even though we might be over certain things, other people are not. So we have to listen to them and sort of, hold their hand. And it's not our job to convince them to feel safe in travel. It's just our job to give them the facts. So again, watch your messaging very, very carefully. Make sure that you're speaking to your audience, and make sure you know who you're speaking to, and the types of words and the types of enthusiasm and the types of marketing they can handle and that they want to see. Understand the mindset of your audience. Do your due diligence. Try to talk to them more. Think about who is watching you. Are they avid travelers? Are they fearless? Are they still concerned? Are they looking more for, a particular place in the world? Or they're looking more for certain types of niche travel? Pick up the clues. It's not enough just to put your stuff out there and ask people for feedback and comments and likes and all this stuff, but not really listen to what they're saying. So, take note, and then take the time, if you do have, periods of downtime, again, follow up with your clients, talk to them, just check in. Doesn't mean you have to sell anything. You just kind of want to see how they're doing, where their mind is at, and also what you can do to make their day better. What kind of a fun fact can you drop for them? What kind of a great photo and experience can you share from something that you did recently or in the past to get them to thinking, thinking forward. And it's okay also, just amongst your immediate circles too, to admit that you're not okay, because we all are. We've had a crazy, couple of years. Lots of people don't understand your structures and commissions, and when you get paid, only when people travel, that kind of thing. So it can be challenging. So it's okay. We're all in this together. And it's okay to share with your trusted circle that you're having challenges with any number of given things. Because I think once you do, and you feel like you're not alone, you can actually be a stronger agent. Hard sells were never a good idea. They're totally not a good idea now. People want more from their journeys, and I think you can all see that they want a better return. So you can be a better marketer and be a much more efficient marketer when you learn to storytell. And I'm sure so many of you are doing this already. Some people get a little nervous about social media. They don't want to put their writing out there. They don't want to write blog posts. I understand that. But then tell your story in a different way. Don't just put a price point out there. If you're selling a group, don't just put a group up, okay, I'm doing this, it's this dates and it's X, amount per person. Lead them into it. Tell them a story. Talk about maybe a pain point that you can address for somebody. If you're doing a wellness retreat, don't just say I'm doing a wellness retreat. Maybe share a story about your own health or experience, or a negative or a positive, thing that happened to you that might have inspired you to think about putting together that kind of thing. Those kind of stories resonate a lot better than you trying to push something in somebody's face and not really giving them the understanding of why it is that you're doing this. So you want to definitely continue, as you did during the pandemic, inspire dreams for the future, because a lot, we couldn't travel then. So we were talking about, hey, what's going to be so great when things open up? Get outside of any uncertainty clouds. We've been in a relative period of I'd say goodness, but we're seeing things on the news start to pop up again about variants and things like this and what the winter is going to bring. Just move out of that uncertainty cloud. Just continue on. Future travel plans will always be welcome, especially when things are flexible. So you want to keep pushing that message. You learned how to do that really well during the hard times. So don't forget that, because during these blips, when we start to see crazy things happen in the media and on the news, you want to make sure that people feel assured that at some point, again, they'll be okay to travel. Use your own experiences from the heart. I always say there's nothing better than talking about your own love of a particular place or a dish you ate at a certain restaurant around the world. People trust you because you know what you're doing. You've been around, you travel, you walk the walk. So, and that's why they come to you. So share, don't just share articles, that somebody else wrote, share your own experiences and share some of the beautiful things and the emotions that you have felt when you've had some of your most impactful moments in travel around the world. So it's always a great thing to do, to tell your story and tell it from the first person. I think that's just a beautiful way to connect. I always say show, share, say, and shout. Just keep those in mind. And it's no problem. You can amplify those kind of things. And I don't think, it never comes off as sort of a bragging, it comes off as, okay, I'm informed, but I'm also real. I had this wonderful time, but, this also didn't go right. And let me tell you why. And let me tell you how this led to another experience and that kind of thing. So, celebrate your wins, celebrate the craziness, and even some of the missteps that led to some of the most, inspiring moments that you might have ever had around the world. Never fall into this trap of doing a fire sale. I think a lot of us sometimes want to get immediate business, or we see something really, really deeply discounted and we want to share it, or we want to negotiate something. Okay, so I say first, repeat that back until it sinks in. Just never, ever, ever do that, because there is no way to get out of it. Once you start trying to find cheaper, quote unquote, options and advertise the really inexpensive packages, that's a very unsustainable precedent. It's a hole you cannot climb out of. Then you become known as setting a bar for a certain price point and selling things just on price versus experiences. Fear and concerns, geopolitical situations are there. Health is wealth and safety is, I guess, the currency people trade in now. And that is worth a price. So when people want to feel safe and they want to feel taken care of, emphasize value, not devaluation. You want to make sure that you're showing people what they're getting back for what they're going to be spending, and also why a healthier investment might yield better returns and a more comfortable trip. You want to stand your ground on new, refreshed product, show its worth and display the value, and also show the extra values you can get. A lot of you are members of consortia. You're entitled to different, added values already. Make sure that you're working hard to negotiate with hotels what they can do to VIP your guests, and just do the best you can on that angle. You see this graphic to the right. If you're from I'm from New Jersey. If you're from this area, New Jersey, New York area, there was a store called Crazy Eddie. And there was a guy named Crazy Eddie who would be on the commercials, and he would just come on the screen and scream at you. He had this turtleneck and a blazer, and he would just scream and say, the prices are insane. And we just all grew up, repeating that and knowing that. There were multiple Crazy Eddie locations. They sold electronics for like bargain basement prices. They were just unbelievable. And I think they used to match or beat any price too if you brought in a flyer. Just incredible. And of course they went out of business because you cannot continue. There's no room for margin. There's no room for, first of all, no room for errors. Second of all, no room to grow. because people know you as the cheap one, and that's the bar you're setting. So make sure that you don't do that. Don't fall into those traps. It's better to wait to get the right booking than to try to snag a small little booking that will get you the reputation of, oh, always giving the knockdown drag out deals. Don't be inflexible. And like I mentioned, the last few years have been excruciating, and we are all in a crunch. Everybody is overloaded. It's not an excuse on the DMC side. It's not an excuse on the hotel side or the tourism board side. It's just that so many people ramped up very, very quickly and they snap back like an elastic. But many people did not staff up at the same time. And just because you're busy doesn't mean the income is coming in. And you know that better than anybody too. So it's the same on another company side. So I know a lot of you are struggling to get answers and you're trying to get quick proposals and they're just not coming back. That just shows the importance of having, I emphasize this way too much, especially over the past 2 years, using downtime to establish better partnerships. Reaching out to multiple people to see who's going to be the best one, who's going to be the best fit for you, having different resources. Obviously, we would love for you to work with our partners and our DMCs. I think they're spectacular and they really do respond right away because we beat that into them, into their heads all day long. But you really want to find out, who is there for you, but understanding that you're not always going to get all of the pricing up front that you need and that you're going to have delays. Figure out different ways to keep your clients engaged. We know they're impatient. We know that they do not want to hear what you have to tell them about the time frames, but find different ways to discuss with them to make them understand the realities and that, okay, it's going to be worth the wait. And, I'm sorry that it's going to be a couple of days until I'm able to get this proposal to you, but here is why. We want to make sure that we're folding this experience in. We want to make sure we check availability. You know how to talk to your clients, but I think it's more important than ever that you give them a basis of understanding that you're not going to be back to them tomorrow. And that's okay with an answer, but it is far more important that you are continuing to communicate as long as they know you're there, that you don't just disappear down a black hole. This is an excellent marketing point for yourself because that person's going to tell somebody, wow, not only did they really take care of me and they made this beautiful trip, they held my hand through the whole thing. I was talking to them. They answered any question. Be available, be flexible, understand what where the world is at the moment, and just do what you can to make sure that customers have realistic expectations about timeframes. I also always say nothing bad ever came from goodwill. So, you're getting one answer from here, you're not getting an answer from here. Figure out a way to sort of sweeten the pot and maybe, go to a different, look at things a little bit differently, offer help, to whoever you're dealing with, or offer, can I at least give the client X if you don't have Y ready for me, and find different ways to keep your clients informed, whether it's sending them a video on a particular property and just saying, hey, this is what I'm working on for you. And I'll have that answer for you very soon. Going overboard and at least being communicative will definitely win you a lot of points. And good goes around. Clients remember that you went that extra mile for them and that you kept them engaged and informed, and you didn't just disappear just because somebody else disappeared on you. So it is challenging. Please hold tight. Everybody is aware and nobody wants this situation to be happening. But realities of incomes and circles and cycles like that just unfortunately are causing impacts in the travel supply chain with answers. So find different ways to stay on top of your clients and making sure that they know you are on everything as best as you can be. And don't just talk the talk. This was in the beginning. We all said, okay, you need to get back out there first. It wasn't a way to push anybody, but just saying, okay, if you feel ready and when you feel ready, it is time to start really, really amping up the game. Take everybody through all of your journeys. You're so lucky. You're in this business. You're able to take beautiful photos. You're able to connect with people around the world. You're able to hear stories, to share stories. That inspires continued confidence. Not only that travel is safer now and it's easier, but also that you really know all of the hidden haunts and that you know what you're doing and you know exactly where to take them. I think, 90% of content I put out there. I mean, it always gathers, interest, but 90% of the time when I travel, there are multiple people that I don't even talk to on Facebook. I don't even know who they are, messaging me and saying, I just saw you were here. Like, what are you doing? I mean, how can I get that kind of trip? Everybody's always interested if you tell the story the right way and you make it really, really curious and exciting. Don't just post a photo, give some context behind it. Use your tools. Video live streaming is free. Instagram stories are free. Facebook stories are free. You have all of these tools in your arsenal and people are watching. And even if you're uncomfortable with social media, it's amazing who is watching you that you have no idea about. We have gotten so many clients as well, like hotel clients, DMC clients, from people that we are connected with. We don't even know how we're connected with them, but I have had people come to me and say, wow, I have been watching you for years. I love the way you tell stories and this and that. We would love to find a way to work together. So you never know who's watching. Share. If you're going to bother going out on the road and you're going to bother traveling, tell the stories, tell the non-obvious stories, because that is really the best way you can market yourself and your expertise. It doesn't really matter about the destination so much. It's the way you're engaging with it, the way that you're loving it, and the way that you're enjoying every bit of it and getting the most out of it. That's a huge, huge marketing tool that you have in your arsenal. So if you're spending the money and the time to be traveling around, use it to the best of your advantage and show them that you're not just selling things. You are, a citizen of the world. You understand these destinations better than anyone else they know, and that's why they trust you. And really, don't forget partnerships. When we had downtime, as I mentioned, it was the most excellent time to really be developing new partnerships, but relationships continue. Long-standing relationships mean a lot, and that things go wrong. You're going to need those partners that can make those struggles disappear. You want to make sure that you're leaning on your network, who you've taken so much time to build, who can always help you out in a pinch. And it's a great time to talk about other ideas, collaborate on crazy ideas. I have what I have the pleasure of doing, since we have such a beautiful audience, is we connect people with each other. We love connecting agents with each other when we see two sparks and we see maybe, one agent in California and one agent in New Jersey, both highly, putting together these highly intricate wine tours or particular yoga or wellness retreats or things like this, photography safaris, and I see a connection. I love making that connection because lots of times those two agents who don't even know each other can wind up collaborating on beautiful things and maybe co-selling a group together, by combining their audiences. It's also a great time to look at collaborations with local businesses. I always use wine shops as an example. For years, I've been talking about this. I mean, that is if you ever wanted to do a wine and food group, partner with a wine shop. Chances are they have a massive local and regional list of people that already, are hot leads. They're already interested in wine, and figure out ways to make partnerships with people so that they can co-market with you. Dangle, cost in a space for them on your group and allow them to travel for quote unquote free with your group if they get a certain amount of people on board for you. There are so many different ways. Think about coalitions. Think about groups of agents you can join together with, united under a common interest, and so you can share your expertise and maybe co-market groups together to expand your reach. So now is really the time, and recognize again those that kept in touch with you during times that were the toughest, those that you supported and those that supported you. These are the people that are going to be the ones that you want to lean on moving forward. So think about your network, how it grew, who you got to know during the most challenging times, and think about ways that you can do things together that might be interesting. And don't ignore outreach. This is the biggest thing for me. I don't live my life on social media. I know it can be frustrating, but really, as I mentioned, somebody's always watching. So, these are tools that you have that are free to you. And it's not only social media posts, but the engagement is really kind of what completes the circle. It is no good taking the time to put a post and craft it and making it a very well-informed and unique style of writing and a great story behind it if you have 100 people commenting and you don't answer a single person. Those engagement points are gold. When you post something and somebody says in a comment, wow, that looks beautiful, I've always wanted to do that. that's about the hottest lead you're going to get, so connect with that person. Say, oh, wow, what were you thinking? Here's what here's a typical itinerary. Find a way to get something in their hands. You're inspiring people most of the time without even knowing it, without even doing it on purpose. And especially, if it's a positive comment, you definitely want to respond. Even if it's a negative comment or a complaint about something, take the time to respond. If somebody is taking the time to want to talk to you about something, figure out a way. Or you could post something, say you posted something about a particular country and somebody says, oh my God, that was the worst vacation I ever had. Ask them why, like figure it out. How can you make a story out of that? How can you combine resources with them and find a way to share that story and turn it into something positive, and spin it. There's a lot of different ways you can use these tools. And if you're not comfortable with certain areas of social media and live streaming and all of that stuff, just reach out to me. And I'm sure I can connect you with somebody that can help you be more comfortable, or maybe I can talk to you myself directly, because nothing can really go wrong on there. If you're sharing positively, it's only good. I just want to make sure that you're doing it in the right way, the right place, and please make sure you answer those engagement points, because they're really important. Be the voice of your brand and stand your ground on your knowledge. You know a lot, and I think there's nothing worse than coming off as smarmy and also a little bit overzealous, I'd say, or a little bit too authoritative. We know you know what you're doing. Everybody knows you know what you're doing, but it is better to share it in a more relatable tone. Not that you know everything because you're the expert. You do, but you don't have to tell people that. I think just sharing what you think is interesting instead of this is just the best is a far more engaging and far-reaching, more positive message. So just always watch your tone with that. Make sure that you are relating to people instead of kind of talking over them. And think about creating a community for engagement too. I find that nothing works better than private groups, not business pages. I'm not a fan of Facebook business pages at all. I don't feel that they do anything for you. I think when you can create a community based under a private page that is protected, where you can control the member requests, and you can make sure that you have in there who belongs there, and you ask thoughtful questions, and you share knowledge that is meant for people to take and learn and share from. Those types of things tend to grow. If you're in my True Marketing Facebook group, that's a great example of that. I think that we have a wonderful community in there. There's a huge level of engagement, and everything we post in there is meant for you all to share with your community and your audience, because it's meant to help educate and inspire. So if you can do something like that, keep a closed group and use it to add value, then I think you're going to go very far, and you're going to find that group grows with, in spite of itself, without you even having to market it. And don't forget to take care of you. A lot of us, as we mentioned, we were underworked and we were overstressed for a long time. Now we are overworked and overstressed. Imagine this, it just changed in a heartbeat. So many of you are so busy, and I love it. I mean, we're out of control too. It's the same thing. And it was that adjustment. Okay, downtime was worse than being extremely busy, because we were so used to being in one phase. Then we had to shift immediately. Now we're shifting back because it requests and are off the hook. So adjustment is challenging. You have to make sure that you're taking care of your mindset, and that requires talking to people, showing up in forums, and we host chats all the time. I mean, we would love for you to just come on and hop on and share if you're having a great day, if you're having a bad day. I mean, those are what the forums are for, to talk things through with other agents, and sort of build, little communities and little pods, of people that can help each other, based on what it is that you're feeling at that moment and what you're going through. So eat healthily, hydrate, read, keep educating yourself. It's a great, I know we get a lot of newsletters per day, but keep on top of, continue to keep on top of what's going on in the world. We know you're busy, but there's got to be some time put aside for that, because continuing education is really, really important. Gratitude reminders, I find, are really, really helpful. When I'm having a bad day, I stop and I write down a few things I'm grateful for, even when it seems like the world is falling apart. Those are really good things to do. And when you're complaining and you're worried and you're saying, I'm never going to get all this done, I'm far too busy, write down why you're grateful to be so busy. Change the mindset and change the view of that when you feel stressed, because you are lucky to be stressed, because if you're stressed, it means that you have business again, and that is a great thing. And you're really only at your best when you're treating yourself as best as possible. So make sure that you do take care of your mind, your body, your, your knowledge, your education, and that you're able to give the best of yourself when you feel the best and when you feel rested and ready. So get the sleep that you need. We know we're up working, early mornings, late nights. You've got to get up to make phone calls to people around the world and all of that stuff. And we're on hold for hours sometimes. That can get frustrating. So you need to make sure that you're leaving time for yourself as well. And then still emerging trends, the things that you want to keep an eye on still, and not so much emerging, but really what we're finding are just, constantly trending now. Remote locations, wide open spaces, places like, Southern Africa, places like remote, areas in Latin America to explore, places with a lot of fresh air and not a lot of people, away from crowded cities. Restorative and transformational travel, that's been the buzzwords for a while. Sustainability as well. So journeys that change your soul. So whether they're intensive retreats or spiritually based journeys, or, places where you're going to learn a specific trade craft or a skill, cooking, a sport, to hone your sporting skills, for a particular activity, or maybe you're going for, an aggressive climb. Maybe you're climbing Kilimanjaro, something like that, something that's going to change your life. These are really what people are looking at, for a return on. The global classroom, school is back in session, but for a while, kids were able to sort of take off and go anywhere. But the global classroom is still an idea for the summers. Think about some of those really educational, transformational journeys families can take together that educate, where people can volunteer together, and get, super, super informed about something that's incredible, like the Galapagos is a great journey for children as well. A Southern African safari, maybe in spending some time with a conservationist and figuring out, what people are doing, all of the practices to conserve, help elephant conservation or rhino conservation, something like that is beautiful. Going beyond the bucket list. So it's not only enough to just check things off, but how can people turn them up? Maybe they always wanted to go bungee jumping. Maybe now it's bungee jumping in New Zealand instead of just, I don't know, the Grand Canyon, wherever, something domestic. So people are reaching further and saying, gosh, you know what I mean? Tomorrow's never guaranteed. We don't know. So, let's just take the budget and blow it here. And we're happening, it's happening all over the place. And we're happening to see that quite a bit with some of, just pretty much all of the quotations we're getting all across the world. Exclusivity, it's the me factor. So villas, luxury chartered yachts. That was, for the last 2 years, those in our portfolio were leading the way. Places like Croatia, Turkey, Greece, people just wanted to be on boats. Private, in Southern Africa, people were doing small lodge buyouts. They still are looking at that now with, 4 or 6 suites in a private game lodge. All of that stuff. And that's pod travel too. Just, figuring out, who your safe squad is, who your group is that you want to be with, and finding small exclusive places to spend those journeys. Giving back, volunteering, and going somewhere and leaving your footprint has always been a popular thing to do. But now more than ever, I think people want to know that they made a mark in the world. Especially after a couple of years of not being able to do much of anything or help anything. Now is a really great time. And that's also a very, very beautiful thing to do with a family and with your children. And I don't think there's anywhere in the world that doesn't have, specific pockets of need. So we can always weave, a volunteering or a give back community outreach initiative in any journey, really, especially with our portfolio. And delayed celebrations, believe it or not, people still have been engaged for years and haven't gotten married yet, and haven't had that party. These are things too to keep an eye on as well. So I would say, check in frequently with your clients. A lot of people say, oh, I never have time. Your database is a treasure trove. I don't care if it's organized. I don't care if it's not. I don't care if it's just a bunch of email addresses and, maybe a name or two. Find a way to re-engage with them. Tell them where you have been. Don't sell them anything. Ask them how they are. if they're not comfortable on the phone, they don't want to get on a call, that's okay. Just kind of share what you've been doing and just say, send an email and I'd love to hear, what you've been doing. You don't even have to talk about travel, or you don't even have to push anything. It's just a way to get back in touch with people, especially if you've been lagging on that. You really need to be keeping in touch, because you never know. Maybe they're not ready to travel again, but maybe they have an aunt or an uncle or a cousin who they can refer you to. So, you don't just want to be the person that's there when they decide to call. Engage with them. I mean, that's what you have a list for. So try to shape that up. And the final point I will tell you is groups. And I don't have a slide for this because this is just more me telling you. It's a highly profitable segment. And I see the biggest challenge and the biggest fear that I see with people wanting to do groups is, okay, they don't know where to start. And that is fine. That's where you start with a DMC, and you start with a DMC that can build a beautiful itinerary to give you some inspiration. You kind of tell them your vision, find your niche. And my best tips on forming a group are, I have a few. Start small. Everyone thinks, I think in the beginning, it has to be 25 people, it has to be 50 people, or it's not a group. A group is usually like 10 or more. Sometimes a group is 6 or more. I always say, everybody has to start at the same level. Okay, we start at 0, then we get 1, then we get a few. Don't put such an unrealistic expectation and such a pressure point on you when you start out, because sometimes those big numbers just don't work out, especially if it's your first time. But if you set a bar in your head and say, okay, I only need 6 to make this work, and you take the itinerary and you price it as such based on 6 people, you're going to hit those 6 people, and your biggest problem will be trying to find more rooms for the rest of the group. So try to go low. Don't put this tremendous pressure on your back by saying you have to get, all of these people, 25, 50, 100 people. Start very small, float it out there, and make sure that you're marketing it with well enough advance time. Work with the DMC to get as lenient of a deposit process as you can, and many will be okay with that. You're going to want to start early, and then give yourself a very healthy advance date. So as you're marketing it, you want to start to see, do I have the commitments or things coming in, and then you want to set just that date and put it way in front of when you owe the deposit to the DMC, so that you can start collecting information, collecting deposits up front, taking those points, and then making sure that you have enough, not only to break even, but to get to your goal of that first margin of profitability. So like I said, if you want to base it on 6 people, price it as such so that everything is covered. And once you hit those 6 people, keep marketing it by all means, but just know that you can always go higher. It's really hard to start high and then wind up with a deficit. So start lower. And then I always say too, please look at your network of who you can co-market with. If you are out of ideas and you say, okay, there's nobody in my orbit that understands how to sell a lawn bowling group, or, or a croquet group, or whatever the heck, the niche is, come to us, or come to, any trusted source that has a good audience in travel, and just tell us, okay, this is what we're, especially if you're using one of our DMCs, we're going to understand your program. Come to us and maybe we can match you with somebody, or maybe we can suggest somebody for you that we can, you can contact at your leisure that might be interested in co-marketing this with you. Because if 2 and 3 forces are on it and you're all kind of in this together, the chances are you can get those numbers up much higher as well, and you can all make money. So that's our little offering here. Aside from everything else that we're doing, we are happy to make those connections for you and help you through everything, so that you can be more successful. So I hope this was helpful. This was just a little bit of an update. Again, we're putting this on demand, so you can watch it at your leisure. You can stop it, you can share it, you can, watch it again, you can pause it. But I hope that, I hope that you found some of this helpful. I'm always at Gabriella@truemarketing.com or info@truemarketing.com for any of our team here to help. So you want to talk through any of these ideas, just keep steady. You're doing great. And, there will be another, short-term round, I'm sure, of global delays and things and answers. But I do see that, already starting to even out around the world, and people getting their feet again and getting up to speed with how busy everything is. And at the end of the day, just take a deep breath and realize we all have to be so grateful because we are all thrilled to be so busy again. So that's just a wonderful point to be in. All right. Well, I hope you take care, and we'll talk to you very soon. Again, thanks for listening.